a good day. So, today, as we begin this book, the short book that I wanted to tell you about, this is an interesting one that I'm sure you would have heard about. So, the book's name is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. So it is a winner, Costa First Novel Award, the British Book Awards, Book of the Year, Specsavers National Book Awards, very popular fiction. It is a story about the very worst and the very best that humans are capable of. So it is funny, it is brave, and it is also utterly devastating. So this is what Elena Wasserberg says. So Elena Oliphant leads a very simple life. She wears the same clothes to work every day, eats the same meal deal for lunch every day, and buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink each weekend. So nothing is different ever. Nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled existence, in other words. So except sometimes everything. So, as a Mail said on Sunday, it is an outstanding debut about loneliness and the power of a little kindness. Daily Mail said it is unforgettable, brilliant, funny, and also life affirming. Now, what else we will say is that the Sunday Express says it's hugely original, a funny and sad tale of the survivor who tackles the challenges of emotional reconnection with a grave courage. Let us have a look at this interesting book. So, Jojo Moyes has also said it is a truly original literary creation, funny, touching, unpredictable. Her journey out of the shadows is expertly woven, it is absolutely gripping. Joanna Cannon has said that I adored it, skilled, perceptive. Eleanor's world will feel familiar to you from the very first page. So, it's an outstanding debut. Paula McLean says it's deft, compassionate, deeply moving. Honeyman's debut will have you rooting for Eleanor with every turning page. A truly original voice, so good on loneliness. I sobbed and sobbed. As Kathy Ken Zenbrick says, a masterly combination of human sadness, as John Boyne said. So powerful, I completely loved Eleanor Oliphant, as Fiona Button says. And delightful, dark, and moving, as Sarah Pinborough says. So Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. So let's have a short brief look into this. There's a foreword here for you from Olivia Lang of The Lonely City, where she says loneliness is hallmarked by an intense desire. It is marked by an intense desire to bring. I repeat that again. Loneliness is hallmarked by an intense desire to bring the experience to a close. Something which cannot be achieved by willpower, which or even by simply just going, neither by willpower or simply by going, get or by simply getting out more, but only by developing what is an intimate connection. So this is far easier said than done, especially for people whose loneliness arises from a state of loss or exile also. So and it could be even prejudice. So those who has a reason to fear or mistrust, as well as long for the society of others. So the lonelier a person gets, the less adept they become at navigating social currents. So loneliness grows around them like mold or even fur. So it is like a prophylactic that inhibits contact. So, no matter how badly contact is desired. So, loneliness is attractive. As I say, loneliness is attractive. It is extending, it is perpetuating itself. So, once it becomes impacted, it is by no means easy to dislodge, as Olivia Lynch on Lonely City says. So, I'll be doing just one or two, 3 pages for you here of this book. It's an interesting one. So here's a read up on this. When people ask me what I do, taxi drivers, dental hygienists, I tell them I work in an office. In almost 9 years, no one ever asked what kind of office or what sort of job I do there. So I can't decide whether that's because I fit perfectly with their idea of what an office worker looks like, or whether people hear the phrase work in an office and automatically fill in the blanks themselves. So, lady doing photocopying or man tapping at a keyboard, say anything like that too. So then I'm not complaining, I'm delighted that I don't have to get into the fascinating intricacies of accounts receivable with them. So when I first started working here, whenever anyone asked, I used to tell them that I work for a graphic design company. Then they assumed I was a creative type. So I became a bit boring. It became a bit boring to see their faces blank over when I explained that it was black office stuff. Yeah, so here it says, I'll repeat that line for you there. So when I first started working here, whenever anyone asked, I used to tell them that I work for a graphic design company. But then they assumed that I was a creative type. So it became a bit boring to see their faces blank over when I explained that this was back office stuff. So I didn't get to use the fine tipped pens or the fancy software. So I'm nearly 30 years old now. I've been working here since I was 21. So Bob, the owner, took me on this not long after the office opened. I suppose he felt sorry for me. So I had a degree in classics. There was no work experience as such to speak of. And I turned up for the interview with the black eyes, a couple of missing teeth, and also a broken arm. So we see that maybe he sensed back then that I would never aspire to anything more than a poorly paid office job, that I would be content to stay with the company and save him the bother of ever having to recruit what was a replacement. So perhaps he could also tell that I'd never need to take time off to go on a honeymoon or even request maternity leave. So I don't know that. So it's definitely a two-tier system in the office. So the creatives are the film stars, the rest of us merely supporting artists. So you can tell by looking at us which category we fall into. So to be fair, part of that is salary related. So the back office staff gets what is paid a pittance, and so we can't afford much in the way of sharp haircuts and nerdy glasses. Then you see that clothes, music, gadgets, although the designers are desperate to be seen as free thinkers, and they are having, like he says, having unique ideas. That's what they say. Free thinkers with unique ideas. So they all adhere to what is a strict uniform. Graphic design is of no interest to me. I'm a finance clerk, so I could be issuing invoices for anything really. Armaments, rohypnol, coconuts. So from Monday to Friday, I come in at 8:30. I take an hour for lunch. I used to bring in my own sandwiches, but the food at home always went off before I could use it up. So now I could get something from the high street. I always finish with a trip to Marks and Spencer on a Friday, which rounds off the week nicely. So I sit in the staff room with my sandwich, and then I read the newspaper from cover to cover, and then I do the crosswords. I take the Daily Telegraph not because I like it particularly, but because it has the best cryptic crossword. Then I don't talk to anyone by the time I bought my A meal deal, read the paper, finish both crosswords. The hour is almost up. Then we see I go back to my desk, work till 5:30. The bus home takes half an hour. Then I make supper. I eat it when I listen to the archers. I usually have pasta with pesto and salad. One pan and one plate. So my childhood was full of culinary contradiction. And I've dined on both hand-dyed scallops and boiled in the bag seared over the years. So, after much reflection on the political and the sociological aspects of the table, I have realized that I am completely uninterested in food. My preference is for fodder that is cheap, quick, and simple to procure and prepare, with providing the requisite nutrients to enable a person to stay alive. So after I washed up, I've read a book, or sometimes I watch television if there's a program the Telegraph is recommended that day. So I usually will always talk to mommy on a Wednesday evening for 15 minutes or so. I go to bed around 10, read for maybe half an hour, and then put the light out. So I don't have trouble sleeping as a rule. On Fridays, I don't get the bus straight after work, but instead I go to the Tesco Metro around the corner from the office and buy a margarita pizza. So some Chianti and two big bottles of Glen's vodka. So when I get home, I eat this pizza, drink the wine, and then I have some vodka afterwards. As the book says, it's not me doing it, this is the book words. So I don't eat much on a Friday, so just a few big swigs. I usually wake up on the sofa around 3 a.m. and then I stumble off to bed. Then I drink the rest of the vodka over the weekend, spread it out throughout both the days so that I'm neither drunk nor sober. So Monday can take a long time to come around. My phone doesn't ring often. It makes me jump when it does, and it's usually people asking if I've been missold a payment protection insurance. So I whisper, I know where you live to them, and then I hang up the phone very, very gently. So no one's been in my flat this year apart from service professionals. I'm not voluntarily invited another human being over the across the threshold except to read the meter. So you think that would be impossible, wouldn't you? It's true though, I do exist, don't I? So it often feels as if I'm not here, that I'm a figment of my own imagination. So there are days when I feel so lightly connected to the earth that the threads that tether me to the planet are gossamer thin, spun sugar. Then there's a strong gust of wind that could dislodge me completely, and I lift off and blow away like one of those seeds in a dandelion clock. So the threads tighten slightly from Monday to Friday. People phone the office to discuss credit lines, send me emails about contracts and estimates. So then the employees that I share an office with, Jani, Loretta, Bernadette and Billy, would notice it if I didn't turn up. So after a few days, then they dig out my address even, and then maybe even call the police in the end, wouldn't they? So would the officers break down the front door, find me covering their faces, gagging at the smell? That would give me something to talk about in the office. They hate me, but they don't wish me dead. I don't think so anyway. I went to the doctor yesterday. It feels like eons ago. I got the young doctor this time, the pale chap with the red hair, which I was pleased about. So the younger they are, the more recent their training, and that can only be a good thing. I hate it when I get old, Dr. Wilson. She's about 60, and I can't imagine she knows much about the latest drugs and medical breakthroughs, so she can barely work the computer. The doctor was doing that thing when they talk to you, we don't look at you, reading my notes on the screen, hitting the return key with increasing ferocity as he scrolled down. So what can I do for you this time, Miss Oliphant? It is back pain, doctor, I told him. I've been in agony. So he still didn't look at me. How long have you been experiencing this? He said. A couple of weeks, I told him. He nodded. I think I know what's causing it, I said, but I wanted to get your opinion. He stopped reading, finally looked across at me. What is it that you think is causing your back pain, Miss Oliphant? I think it is My bees, Dr. I told me, your bees? Yes, I see. You see, I weighed them and they're almost half a stone. Combined weight, that is not each, I laughed. He stared at me, not laughing. That's a lot of weight to carry around, isn't it? I asked him. I mean, if I were to strap half a stone of additional flesh to your chest and force you to walk around all day around like that, then your back would hurt too, wouldn't it? He stared at me and then he cleared his throat. How did you? Kitchen scales, I said, nodding. I just sort of placed one on top. I didn't weigh them both. I made the assumption that they'd be roughly the same weight. Not entirely scientific, I know, but I'll write a prescription for you for some more painkillers, Miss Oliphant, he said, talking over me and typing. We are doing the book here. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine for those of you who have missed it till here. Strong ones this time, please, I said firmly, and plenty of them. They tried to fob me off before with tiny doses of aspirin. I needed highly efficient medication to add to my stockpile. Could I also have a repeat prescription for my eczema medications, please? It does seem to become exacerbated at the time of stress or excitement. He did not grace his polite request with a response, but simply nodded. Neither of us spoke as the printer spat out the paperwork which he handed to me. He stared at the screen again and started typing. There was an awkward silence. The social skills were woefully inadequate, especially for people facing jobs like his. So goodbye then, doctor, I said. Thank you so much for your time. My tone went completely over his head. He was still apparently engrossed in his notes. That's the only downside to the younger ones. They have a terrible bedside manner. So that was yesterday morning in a different life. As I said, we're doing the book. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. This is a book by Gail Honeyman and it is available exclusively in the Indian subcontinent. As Georgia Moyer said, it is funny, touching and predictable. It's a book of the year also. Actually 2 million copies have been sold, in fact, of this book. So to continue with it, little more is left till I reach the second chapter. That was yesterday morning in a different life. Today, after the bus was making good progress as I headed for the office, it was raining and everyone else looked miserable, huddled into their overcoats, sour morning breath steaming up the windows, and life sparkled towards me through the drops of rain on the glass, shimmered fragrantly above the fug of wet clothes and damp feet. I've always taken great pride in managing my life alone. I'm a sole survivor. I'm Eleanor Oliphant. I don't need anyone else. There's no big hole in my life, no missing part of my own particular puzzle. So I am a self-contained entity. So that's what I always told myself at any rate. But last night I found the love of my life. When I saw him walk on stage, I just knew it. He was wearing a very stylish hat, but that wasn't what drew me in. No, I'm not that shallow. He was wearing a three-piece suit with the bottom button of his waistcoat unfastened. A true gentleman leaves the bottom button unfastened. So Mummy always said that it was one of the signs to look for, signifying, as it did, a sophisticated, an elegant man of the appropriate class, social standing. So his handsome face, his voice here at long last was of a man who could be described with some degree of certainty as husband material. So Mummy was going to be thrilled. So with that, I stop here of this very interesting book, and we hope to continue sometime later about it with in-depth summaries, book summaries, and more. So this appears to be a debut book of hers, and it won the Costa First Novel Award, which was in 2017, the British Book Awards Book of the Year, and the Specsavers National Book Awards Popular Fiction Book of the Year, as well as being shortlisted for numerous other awards. So since publication, translation rights have been sold to over 30 territories worldwide. Reese Witherspoon is optioned for it. for film, and it is also chosen as one of the Observer's debuts of the year for 2017. Gale's author was also awarded the Scottish Book Trust Next Chapter Award in 2014 and has been longlisted for BBC Radio 4's opening lines and shortlisted for the Lucy Cavendish Unpublished Fiction Prize and the Britport Prize. So Gale lives in Glasgow. So that's about it for you. I guess that should do for now. We'll do the rest maybe on Sunday of the same book in summaries, MCQs, book discussion questions, and also quotes explained, which is what I will be doing for you on Sunday over here, same time at 8 o'clock, same place on YouTube channel live. So see you till then and hope that you come. So like I was saying, Monday to Friday I'm usually doing a meditation which is on here on YouTube live, that is at 8 o'clock till about 8:30, and then on Sunday, Monday to Saturday, is meditation 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 8 p.m. and then that's in the evening. And then on Sundays I try to do like a book club, any particular one book. I do all of that for you on Sundays at 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. is for book club and Monday to Saturdays are for meditation. So see you again sometime tomorrow, same